welcome to another edition of the Paranormal Zone with Bob Mcdermott and co-host Tom Spitalere. How are we doing today, Bob?
Good, yourself?
I'm doing great, considering it's going to be it's a Easter weekend, so happy Easter everybody that's out there listening, if you celebrate it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to today's show. I think Patty's going to be extremely interesting.
Oh, yes. Yeah, and Patti is a pet psychic, medium, medical intuit, Reiki master, work with spiritual companion, Ladybug. Oh, that's her dog. Oh, it's nice when people can work with their animals like that, Bob.
Right.
They offer guidance, support, and help the people and their pets who are rooted in their core energies to communicate better together. And yeah, I can agree to that. Right now, my dog's in rough shape. But the dog's old. It's beyond old, in human years especially. So, but without further ado, let's reintroduce Patti. Patti, welcome to the show.
Well, hey, Tom. Thank you so much. Hi, Bob. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Tom,
thanks for coming on.
Oh, I'm honored. Love to share this with other people. Animals are such a huge part of our lives. And, Tom, I'd like to say I'm so sorry what you're going through. It's not easy. This is the hardest time in our pets' lives.
It is.
And so hopefully, some of the things that we're going to talk about can actually, give you a little bit of peace and relief with the decisions and things that the progression of your pet and their path. One of the things that I always tell people with pets that are passing and pets that have passed is that their main goal is to have a spiritual relationship with us that continues.
Right.
So, yeah, I think a lot of people can understand that.
When did you first realize you had this gift?
So that's a great question. People ask me that all the time. And, there was never a time I realized it. I've always talked with spirits and animals all my life. There was a time I realized I was different. And that was when I was 5. And my dog, Putzi, beautiful boxer, were out in the front yard. And she was lying there. And I got up to run across the street. And there was a car coming. And she got up and ran towards me, knocked me down, pinned me down, glared at me. I could hear clearly, do not ever cross that street without looking. She said, I'll show you. So she brought me over to the side of the street. She looked both ways, had me look both ways. We crossed, turned around. She said, you show me. And so I looked both ways, crossed. I was so excited. I told all my friends. I showed them how to cross the street. They told their parents. Now, in 1970s, how do you think that went over? So I realized I was different.
I bet that went over like a lead weight.
Yeah, I suddenly was not invited to things.
Patti, how do you explain this at 5 years old to your parents? And do they accept that?
How do I tell humans?
We've heard from mediums that knew they had a gift like you at around 5 or 6 years of age. And some of them tell us that it was very difficult because adults didn't pay any attention to them when they were trying to explain this gift.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes, that's absolutely true.
Did you experience that?
Yeah, well, after that experience and all my friends telling their parents that I talked to the dog, they didn't really have me over at birthday parties and things. They didn't want their kids to play with me, things like that. I was the crazy one. So it's interesting, though. I think it's when we're about 5 we actually have the words, because see, this is a psychic language, right? A medium language. It's a high vibration language that it's not words, and it's not written or verbal language. So once we learn written and verbal language, we start to try to explain it. The problem being there's really not a great translation, and everybody speaks this from the very birth. When we come into this world as an infant, we all speak in what I call image emotion sets. And that is connecting with that language of spirit, that high vibration language. Only when we start learning words and written and verbal language, we forget it. And so many people just don't remember how to communicate that way, and that's where the problem comes, because people don't understand it.
I think also that we tend to condition our children to avoid anything we don't understand. How many times does a child talk about, seeing something in their room, and we say, "Oh, that's nothing. That you were dreaming." So I think we retard that kind of gift as adults, unfortunately, for many years.
Right. That's why I went into the medical field.
And you wonder how much further people would be ahead if they just took the time to step back and say, we should look at this. We should at least evaluate what we have here.
Yeah, I love that perspective. And that is exactly why I have taken my gifts and taken this focus on animals, because people are so much more comfortable understanding and working with the spiritual energies of psychic, medium, ghosts, even with animals. I mean, I work with so many people that are transitioning their animals or having to heal from the grief that they're stuck in from losing them. And they all say, "Oh my God, I wish I could just see them." And I'm like, would it scare you if you saw them as a ghost walk by? No, huh? Would it scare you if you saw your father or your grandfather that passed walk by? Yeah. I'm like, why is that?
What's the difference?
It's because our pets have that high vibration connection with us. We know we can trust them. We know that they love us. We know nothing bad will ever happen with our animals. It's a really interesting phenomenon. And that's why I focus on animals today.
Well, that, and with humans, you don't know what can happen. So real quick on this, just to piggyback off what you said. I had this kid come up to me, because I do shows all over the place, as both you guys know, and go, "I want you to make contact with my mother and father. I want you to channel their energy." I'm not sure if I want to do that. And here's the reason why. I talked to another psychic friend of mine who mostly deals not with animals, but with humans, but we're on the same token here at this point. This lady went to her and said that one of her events, where she gets paid and stuff like you do when everybody else does, and goes, "I want to reach out to my mother." Well, okay, how do you want to do this? "Well, I want to channel." "Oh, well, I won't do that here." So they got together. Thank God the psychic's husband went with her, because it got a little ugly. The mother wanted the daughter dead in a long shirt of things. So you don't know what, at least with animals, that's the point I was trying to make. With animals, most likely your dog, who you had for 15 years, 16 years, 12 years, 10 years, 8 years, probably doesn't want you dead.
That's exactly true. That is exactly true. There is no question whatsoever.
So that's usually a happier. And with family dynamics the way they are today, the bigger the family, the bigger the problems are. At least with animals, it's easy.
Right. That is so true.
All right, so let me ask this question of both of you, because I get this question a lot. What is the difference between channeling and psychic mediums?
You want to take that, or you want me to?
Why don't you take? Because I'll tell you what to me it is, but to you it might to see.
Let's share our
Bob,
perspectives.
That's one of those things. We put 10 of us in the room, and even put 10 channelers in them, they're going to tell you 10 different things. There's no real core answer to that one.
That's why there's so much confusion around it.
Right.
And I get this question all the time, and I kind of answer it that way.
Right.
Well, everybody has kind of a different concept of the difference, but both of you have done this, correct?
Yes.
I know, Tom, you're a channeler. So how do you guys see the
Okay,
difference?
for me, channeling, I'm not a psychic, I'm not a medium. Sometimes on a case, I might hear something out of my ear or feel something, but I don't consider myself a psychic. But when it comes to channeling, I can feel the energy of the spirit going inside my body. And then I communicate. Okay. That's not me communicating, it's the energy communicating. So they're using my body as a vessel. That's why channeling is controversial, and that's why a lot of people don't want to do that, because I'm not saying they're wrong about this, but their opinion is it's their body and they want control of their body. When you channel, you lose all control.
I agree 100% with that. 100%.
Okay.
That is how I view channeling too. Yes, there are
Okay,
times
so
that I
when
channel.
you're channeling, the spirit is any spirit?
Any spirit, yeah. I've never.
So a medium might make contact with your grandmother, your grandfather, one of your loved ones, correct?
Correct.
So is channeling just any spirit come through?
Well, let's take a private home investigation. We go to a house in a state in a city, and you and I go there, and we're walking around, and say we got Patti with us on this case, and she's doing her psychic stuff, doing what she does best. We're doing what we do best, and all of a sudden, I walk into the living room, and all of a sudden this thing just walks right in front of me and goes, I need somebody to communicate with, and boom, that's it. Now, I'll let Patti take it away from the psychic view on that one, because I'm not a psychic or a medium, so we'll let Patti answer that one from that one.
So the way I understand and the way I explain these things is psychic is intuitive. It's connecting to what we call the Akashic records, which is kind of the internet in the sky. What has happened, will happen, can happen, and is happening through all dimensions, per parallel and everything else. So you can tap into that knowledge. That is image emotion sets, which is one of the tools I teach people with working with animals. So that's psychic energy. Psychic is being intuitive and connecting. Medium is talking with people or pets that have passed, the actual spirits. Channeling is when you allow them to come into your body and talk through you. And so I think we're in agreement there with that one, right? Yeah, Tom.
Yeah.
And so, and that, there is controversy about that. I mean, I think the biggest important thing about that is having a good way to keep yourself cleared and cleansed. I believe everybody has spirit jobs. If you are in focus and in line with your spirit job, that's one of your spirit jobs, Tom, is to allow give a voice to
the voiceless.
The voiceless, and that's beautiful. However, that's not for everybody, and some people it would damage their physical body. See, you are in line with it, and that's a beautiful gift. Thank you for doing that.
No problem. And thank you for what you do. So people at home, I mean, I've thought about, Bob and I have talked about running classes and bringing people in that know, different things and charging and giving a certificate at the end. But a little bit more in depth than like a 101 that you might give at the library or something. Just a little bit more in depth. Because they're paying money and you want to make sure they get their money's worth. Mm-hmm. I thought about doing a channeling class. I've thought about doing channeling classes at Hilldale, but just as I'm getting ready to say, and I want to use this loosely because on radio today you use the wrong words, you get yourself in trouble. Pull the trigger to do this, and I don't mean pull the trigger. I mean pull the trigger to do it. I start thinking about, then one of my team members will go, what happens if you get somebody who's thinks they can do it but can't do it and in the wrong frame of mind? I said, yeah, that's probably a good point. Well taken.
Yeah. Because
there are no channeling classes out there, no matter what metaphysical store. And I have friends that own them all over the place. So it's not like I pick one. I go to all different ones. I don't pick one and, that's it. You notice none of them do channeling. There must be a reason for it.
It's a natural ability.
Because there are people like me out there. I know one other lady in this area that's a channeler, a full channeler, Maureen. I'll just use her first name. Actually, I could use her name because she's been on TV. Maureen Wood from Drake. I think she's in Drake now, or wherever she lives. She lives in the area. But other than that, I don't know many other channelers.
Well, you're a specialist,
right.
Like a neurologist is a specialist.
Caitlin,
right?
Caitlin has channeled. She hates it, but she hasn't gotten full. See, I can let it out of my body with help. Her, it takes a lot longer.
Right, and that's the key.
There's the key. It's how long it takes to get out. Now, the problem with me is you need to have a recorder running because I don't remember anything. That's the only thing I don't like about channeling is not remembering anything. That means you need trusted people around you and a recorder going so you can analyze what happened during like a blackout moment. Where mediums that I've worked with, I don't know about you, everybody's different, you don't have that blackout moment.
Well, it's interesting.
Or do you?
Generally, no. However, personally, when I'm doing sessions for people, and like I'll connect with them several months later or a year or whatever. They'll be like, "Oh, remember when you said?" I have no clue what I said to you. So when I always say you're talking to either Patti, which you're talking to now, the human, or you're talking to Anastasia, which is talking to spirit. And sometimes I don't remember at all what Anastasia and spirit talk about. So I can identify. I'm not sure if I'm actually taking on. I mean, I think it's a combination, kind of a melding of all those things when that happens for me.
And when I come out of channeling, my body is about as useless as a wet duck.
Right. And see, for me, I'm energized.
You're energized.
That's why I don't like to do full-on channeling, because and there's times when I need to.
Right.
However, if I don't need to, I try to avoid it for that reason, because I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to be exhausted.
And of course, I don't mind putting it out there because, Bob, Patti, I've talked to before. She knows probably a little bit. And I don't mind putting it out to the public because I'm out there. And if something happens, I want people to be able to, they have to make a phone call or something, they need to tell people what's going on. So everybody in my local places I hang out with all know I have this. So I don't mind talking about it. I'm a diabetic that's very hard, the doctors are having trouble controlling. So for me to channel, if I go to a sugar low, it's actually not worse than coming out of regular channel.
Right.
And you never know when that's going to happen. I could eat plenty of food before a case and be fine, and then all of a sudden, boom, down I go.
Well, you're talking about vibrational energies. Our bodies, right, function at about 68 to 100 max in hertz. And you're channeling, anywhere from, 1,000 to, God, thousands, hundreds, and millions of thousands of hertz.
Oh, I just learned something, Bob. I never knew that.
So now you're bringing that into your body. Your particles, everything is vibrating at such a higher rate. You're using energy, man, and your body. And so it depends on the vibration of the entity. Now, I can tell you, with the entities that are more maleficent, the ones that are stuck, the wounded souls,
right,
they are going to damage your body more than the other ones because they don't have a control of theirs.
Right.
Whereas if you're dealing with the high vibration guides and spirits, I call it fifth dimensional and beyond, then they're balancing that and they're making sure your body is okay, right? So if you're coming out of a channel and you're exhausted like that, then know that that's probably a lower vibration, maybe an entity that's stuck in that realm.
So that would be like, and I hate to put it this way because people do lose family members every day, but that'd be like losing, well, I'll use my own example. That'd be like losing my father 6 years ago, 6 years in a week now. He passed on. And I shouldn't say that. I don't know if I did or didn't because you never know with me. That would be like, if he was stuck here trying to channel his spirit out of here.
Yeah, well, so the way I see it is like dimensions.
Not out of, but you know what I'm saying. He doesn't want to leave.
Yes.
We don't see the living realm, but the spirit's still in the house and doesn't want to leave the house.
Right.
So that's the low, that's the one.
That's the low vibration.
That's the one that's going to wipe me totally.
Right, exactly.
The ones that can come and go freely, like sometimes I'll do a channeling session at the cemetery when I do a fundraiser.
Nice.
I'll channel the spirit around because there's always spirits floating in Hilldale.
Sure.
To channel. And I'll channel and do a channeling session. I come out tired, but not nearly as tired if I channeled in somebody's house.
There you go. That's a great, there you go. Right. Because they're taking care of your body. They're readjusting it. They're balancing it as they're coming in.
And like Bob, the spirits at the Sandown Meeting House for Bob are his friends. The spirits of Hilldale are my friends. So, we walk in there. He walks into the meeting house because he's done it so many times. It's like, wow. Hi, I'm here.
I think what I experience, and it may have something to do with channeling, which is interesting, that because the meeting houses back in the 1700s were also used as the primary churches. They weren't just meeting with groups. They would actually celebrate masses at these meeting houses. So what I really get out of it from the energy in there is more of a spiritual feeling than a communications feeling. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It totally does, because you're talking about that high vibration energy. So the higher the vibration, the shorter the wavelength. So the less hearing or seeing, all those senses that are in these lower vibrations we feel it instead. So it makes sense.
It's fair to say, as a layperson, that channeling comes through on a much higher energy vibration level than mediums experience.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Okay.
When you're out of your body, anything disembodied can function at all different varying vibrational frequencies. The higher the vibrational frequency, the healthier it is. So the lower the vibrational frequency, even though it's higher than us. So the way I look at it is, in the physical world, we have time and space. And in that fourth dimensional area where spirits can tend to get stuck and such, there's no time, there is space, and there's ego. In the fifth dimensional, when we start to get up into the higher vibrations, there's no time, there's no time, there is space, but there's no ego. And that's where we want to really function at. When we're working with the ego out of space and in time, or out of time and in space, sorry about that, I did that backwards, we can wind up with that detrimental effect to our physical body. When we channel that entity, it comes in and it disrupts us. And instead of helping our bodies to balance ourselves, to come back into alignment because they're a high vibration, because they're lower, our cells don't. They don't align back healthy, and so our bodies take a toll. Does that make sense, or did I confuse you?
No. That makes a lot of sense. And I just give you a pre-warning. I'm going to ask you a question. I don't know if we put this in our pre-notes, but I've had this presented to me before, and I was reading a blog. I don't have the name of the blog, but anyways, I was reading a blog the other day, and a statement in there said, spirits come from alien or foreign cultures.
The first part of that? Read that again.
Spirits come from alien or foreign cultures. So it just intrigues me, because there's been at least theories out there that ghosts, mediumships, channeling, the whole nine yards, is really, really a different universe crossing over versus really just spirits of people that have passed.
Oh, I agree 100%.
You do?
Yes, and the reason being is we're talking about communication. So that's on different wavelengths, right? I mean, like, for example, radio waves, they're long wavelengths, so we don't need a lot of time to hear them, right? They extend, they resonate through time, whereas the higher vibrations are a much shorter wavelength, so we need more time to hear them. We need to be out of time, which is psychic, intuitive, medium, channel. We're talking about the disembodied energy. The emotions. Emotions are a perfect example of this, because emotions aren't in time, and because we can feel just as strongly about something that happened to us when we were 5 as, now, or maybe even stronger. All right. So now you're talking about communicating with aliens. You're talking about communicating with disembodied entities, the ancients, from other cultures, all of these out of the space, and maybe in time, maybe not. They're communicating at the electromagnetic level. And so we can talk to all of them. If you can talk to a spirit, you can talk to an alien, because we're talking the same language. Image, emotion sets.
Thank you. That's a great answer to that one. Now, Bob,
it is a great answer.
To put it back into a little bit lower perspective, for the people who are listening at home, and correct me if I'm wrong, okay? So, so years ago we did a case up in Cheshire, New Hampshire. Cheshire, it's outside of Tilton. Cheshire, thank you. Myself, the psychic that was there, another person who has abilities was there. We could taste the blood. We don't know what it was for at the time, because then we went back and did some research. So the lady at the house says, "Oh, no, no." I said, "Then Native Americans walked this land?" "No. According to local historical society, there's no way the natives walked on this road." Well, that's good to know. I don't know how they ever figured that one out because I work at a local historical society. I'd never say something like that. Mm. So then I looked at the name of the road and went, "Oh, I'll even give the name of the road, Tilton Road." That's like Hampton Road in Exeter goes to Exeter. Tilton Road in that town goes to Tilton. That's why they name those roads that way. You have them in Danville and Sandown. So, the psychics went back pretty far, Native American. That's pretty far. Now, I'm not going to say where. I will use a terminology that Essex County created, and that is it. Somewhere in the Sandown Triangle, Essex County last year went out and did an investigation in this area. And I'm not going to mention names at all. But the psychic medium we had with us went back to something of the Viking era on that land. Okay? I'll tell you the whole story off the air, Bob, but Viking land. So, yes, I know psychics that can go back pre-colonial. Now, we do know there was something in the Danville, Sandown, Salem area because we have Stonehenge, we have the Beehive, and then you've told me and other people reached out to me about other beehives on private property that they don't want addresses out there because they don't want people going in their yards looking at these beehives. You know, a beehive is a stone structure in the hill. There's one in Danville you can actually go to. It's called the Danville Beehive. It's a very interesting location. But that one is open to the public. It's on a public walking trail and everything.
Nice.
So that's one you can go to. You can Google search it and find it.
Okay.
I know Bob's been there. I've been there. We've all been there. But there are other ones, structures like that. The Danville Beehive is about 1,400 years old and 14,000 years old. Sorry. 1,400 years old and some change. Give or take 147 years when you're working with stones. Structures. And then you got Stonehenge. So we know there was a civilization here. Mm-hmm. Some say it was, the Phoenicians. Some say Stonehenge is tied to Oak Island. That's for another show at another time. Mm. But there are mediums and psychics out there that can go that far back.
Yeah, actually, so I do a lot of helping people with karma balancing and past life regressions and stuff. And I would have gone back to prehistoric times, where they actually stepped into their karmic path on this physical lifetime venture and worked with doing some healing, some ancestral healing, really, at that level. And so, because it's out of time. That energy is out of time. It's in space and it's in, and you can connect with that and talk with that energy. And I receive it through images and emotions. And so that's why, I know if I get goosebumps, I know there's an energy shift and to pay attention to something.
So if you go down on the list, Bob, this is something of interest, especially to you and I, because we also like the technical end of this field, okay?
I do too.
Right.
So, we check things with K2 meters, these meters, that meters, and they read, electromagnetic fields. There are meters out there that can read hertz, which is HZ and other things. I didn't realize this, Bob, but she's got animals that also run on a frequency. Can you explain that?
Oh, yes. I love this. So when I did a lot of research for my book, and the things that I've come up with is there's a lot of research going on with what animals have much heightened, better senses than we do, right? So dogs, for example. Can I just use that paper real quick? Because I wrote down some numbers. I don't keep numbers in my brain.
None of us do.
I know, right? It's like a dog, for example. A dog's physical resonance, like ours is 68 to 100, theirs is like 500, I'm sorry. That is the emotional equivalent of that's hertz, emotional equivalent of love. Let me ask you, what do you feel from your dog?
Love,
right? Okay, so now dolphins are like 700 hertz. What do you feel when you're watching dolphins play? What emotion comes up?
I've never saw it though.
Happiness?
Yeah.
How about joy?
Joy?
Joy? Yeah, that's 700 hertz. All right, so that's just one area. That's the one I work most with, is the emotional connection, helping people to communicate through the emotions, utilizing with images. However, the other things to consider here is like a dog, just talking about a dog, their voice range. So this is where science is really picking up and starting to catch up, is their barking, their voice ranges between 2,400 and 23,000 hertz. So this is their voice. Now, our voice is like under 1,000 hertz, basically. I mean, and then you think about the hearing aspect. Dogs can hear between 40 and 60 hertz, 60,000 hertz, you know, and I wish I had written down exactly what humans are, but then we are so much lower than that. You can just Google it and see that. And so you can see why the communication aspect and communicating with everything besides humans is difficult. Plants too.
Right.
But animals are here to teach us how to bridge that gap.
Wait a minute. You said something.
I did?
I don't want to go off key too
Tell
much.
me.
Communicating with energy of plants? That one I never heard of before.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a new one. How about you, Bob? Is that a new one?
I have heard this mentioned before. Frankly, I don't know much about it.
So everything has a vibrational frequency. And if something has a vibrational frequency, you can communicate with it. And it just depends upon meeting it. So the law of resonance, where you have one vibrational frequency and another, they have to come together to create a new resonant frequency, which is the higher vibration always raises the lower vibration. And this is why, if you are somebody, sorry, did I just mess that up?
No.
Okay. If you are somebody that functions at a high vibrational frequency, like mentally ill people, for example, bipolar people, I'm bipolar, and so I have big range of emotion. That's unsettling for people. And I have learned that people can be standing next to me if they're a very consistent person, a sine wave, they don't have high amplitude, they don't have fast frequency of emotion. Just me standing next to them, they start to vibrate and they're uncomfortable. And it's really been fascinating to me to do all this kind of personal research on all of this and bring it together. But plants, they all have a vibrational frequency, and they are, we can talk to them and they can help heal our physical body because they're more in a lower vibration. However, they're healthy. And so when we talk to them, and a good example is just literally we talk, we express CO2, they absorb it and express the oxygen back to us. That basic scientific known phenomenon there. If you just amplify it into an energetic, because everything's transmutable again, you know, the law of conservation of energy. Energy is neither created nor destroyed, merely changes forms. That's what we're talking about. And when we can really work with that electromagnetic is perfect example. Transmute that energy. It's like taking wood, lighting it on fire, turning it into fire, smoke, there's visual, there's heat, there's all of these transmuted energies. They're all the same. They've just changed.
Yeah. Patty, let me ask you a question. We're seeing today more so that the scientific community, the physicists and everyone else, is starting to come around to the paranormal side of what we deal with every day. Where 50 years ago it was unheard of that a scientist would be looking into communicating with plants or pets. Where do you see the scientific community falls out on a lot of this? Do you agree that they're starting to come around to the unknown?
Oh, yeah. I am so excited about this because, you know, back when I did my biology degree, you know, 25 years ago, when I was taking the physics classes and such, I was like, wow, this is proving metaphysics. Except they didn't understand it yet because they didn't have all the pieces. The other pieces are coming to play. I believe that animals are going to bridge that gap because people trust animals. So we can go, oh my God, we're seeing all these videos with animals. Actually, I just saw one today or yesterday. A man was diving with his wife, and a dolphin came up. Well, he felt something behind him, and he just felt it. He knew something was there, so he turned around, and there was this dolphin, and he knew this dolphin didn't want to play. This dolphin needed him to go, and he needed him to go with him. So he followed him, and he found another dolphin in a net. And so his wife and him got the dolphin out of the net, and the dolphin swam up and literally took the biggest yelling breath they could take, because they can only hold their breath for 10 minutes underwater. This dolphin was about to die. Well, just a little while later, this dolphin gave birth. And the other dolphin that had originally went and got the man came over to the man and touched him on his cheek with his flipper, like to say thank you. I mean, there's over and over and over. So this, you cannot fake it, right? I have videos galore working with animals in the zoo, and we're doing healing work, and it's obvious they're responding. You can't fake it. So this is proof. It's like you're seeing it with your own eyes. Everybody wants to see it with their own eyes, right? Well, animals are going to let you see it with their own eyes. Right. And so, yes, science is catching up. I'm so glad. They've got all these pieces, these building blocks of scientific data that will all of a sudden pull together and are starting to pull together. And I love the sciences stuff. I absolutely love it. And so, bringing the science and the metaphysic and the spiritual and all of it together, it's like finally maybe people are going to realize, that the problem solvers of the world are the ones that we're calling mentally ill, the animals, all the things we don't understand. They're the problem solvers. And so, woohoo, we'll find the problems and we'll get them solved with help. That'll be wonderful. So that's how I feel about that.
Well, I've always found this interesting, Bob. So me and you've been doing this a lot of years now, right? And we've done plenty of library talks where we have what I call the interesting people show up that are just there to cause trouble because maybe the local access TV stations there, they want to hear them try to put us down or whatever. You've done UFO talks. I've done different weird, different types of talks.
The hecklers.
Yes, the hecklers. But when it comes down to this, if you start looking into history, let's see, our planes, even the atom bomb, those weren't people that functioned on normal level.
No.
They functioned at a different level, a lot higher, and they had gifted abilities. Now, yes, creating the atomic bomb, was not for good reasons, but the people who founded penicillin, that was the guy that used to talk to plants, if I remember reading that correctly. So he figured out by plants, talking to his plants, and then all the neighbors like, well, he's a little odd. He don't talk to him, he's off. Or, then he finds out he's a multi-billionaire because he created penicillin that saved the world.
Now he's a genius.
He's a genius.
He wasn't saying, now he's a genius.
Right, exactly. So I think it's the people who are a little off, a little touched, that don't mind going outside the box, are the real movers and shakers of the world.
They're the problem solvers.
Yeah.
And we're not utilizing them, so why aren't the problems being solved? Ha!
Another great example of that is when you look at children and young adults that are challenged in many ways, and yet they can hear a Mozart piece and play it back with almost 100% perfection after hearing it one time. And I mean, this has been done many times through history.
Right.
So it is mind-boggling to me that people don't look at this from an energy level, Patty. Because
right.
You couldn't hear, you and I could hear a Mozart piece 1,000 times and never be able to play that back.
Nope.
And yet, a child that has no real experience on the piano, has only heard it once, can repeat it with such accuracy. If that's not tied into the energy of that song, tied into that child being challenged, what is? I mean, that's the proof right there.
And especially if the child, we'll just use grades just to make it easier for the people at home. You've got the kid in third grade, two kids in third grade. One that's the scholar, and the other kid that's so low that he's in special classes. They both listen to Mozart, and there goes the kid who's barely getting through school, plays Mozart for the first time, like you heard Mozart play before he died.
Yeah.
Then you got the top of the line student who's got all straight A's across the board, doing real well in school, got all the friends, got everything, and they can't even get a scale on the piano right.
And you're talking about communication.
Right.
That's exactly what you're talking about, right? What vibrational frequency are we communicating at? And when you start to learn words and verbal language, the other goes out the window. We all knew it when we were infants. We all knew it. How do you think we portray? We told our parents we were hungry, had to be changed, and whatever. How many parents out there go, oh yeah, I just knew my kid needed to be changed. Oh, I knew they wanted this food. Because you saw it in your head. It was an image, and they express their emotions. They projected it. You project images with emotions. That's one way of communicating. That's how animals communicate.
When a baby's a baby, there are different cries.
Yeah.
One for, oops, got to change the diaper. Or, time for dinner or a snack. Or, oops, I don't want to be in the crib anymore. Cry.
Yeah.
Or, they start crying near the door because they want to go outside, get some fresh air. So, they're not telling us going, Uncle, Auntie, we want to go outside, but it's the cry. It's what they're doing.
And we get the image.
And we
just don't even realize it sometimes. Right. It's just so natural. Oh, I know that. You hear the sound. However, that sound is initiating the image of what you know they want. It's really, really cool. I mean, and kids talk to animals completely. And like you had talked about earlier with, kids that have unseen friends. And, oh my gosh, there's this, thing in the corner. There's, grandpa's talking to me. Oh, I can't come right now because I'm playing with so-and-so. That's all real. And the thing that worries me the most about that is that there are those low vibration entities that can enter if they're not protected well. And there's easy ways to teach our kids to be protected. It's just that adults are so afraid of it that they don't even want to know about it. Not all of them. Right. People are catching up.
Well,
Things are changing.
Right. The other thing too, Bob, is how many times you and I go to a case and we're investigating the house like we normally would, right? On what we do real well. And all of a sudden there's the cat in the corner or the dog in the corner going, looking up at the ceiling as everybody's at the kitchen table discussing things.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Because our animals
that's very true. I think that pets have a distinct advantage over us because I go back to conditioning. I think all of us have been conditioned through our lives to believe and to understand things where pets haven't been conditioned. They're not told that ghosts don't exist. They're not told that they can't communicate with adults. We're told for years UFOs didn't exist. We now know that the government has released evidence, very strong evidence, that they do exist. So it's conditioning of people, in my opinion, from a very young age. And that's why you take people today, 50% believe in ghosts, 50% don't. And it's just conditioning. And I do think that, and this might be a subject for a topic for a different show, but I think religion has played into it in the last 100 years. I think it's less today than it was before. But I think conditioning plays into it.
Oh, no, I agree with you 120%. I mean, we go on cases and, you want to call in. We'll make this real quick. You've probably heard this too when you go to your clients' places. Well, I called in my church and they want $3,000, $4,000. Well, who's got that type of money? Especially if you're a single parent. Doesn't matter what side, if you're a single mother, it doesn't really matter to me. A single parent living in an apartment, $3,000-4,000 is going to cover the monthly grocery bills. That's a lot of money to go in there and take care of an entity or take care of an issue. What, for the priest to come in and douse some holy water? He's in there maybe half an hour at most.
I didn't know they charged.
They do. But they don't tell you, they don't send you a bill. They ask for a donation, a suggested donation.
yeah.
So let me get that straight. I see. And
Yeah,
if they
yeah.
have to bring in the demonology priests from Rome, that suggested donation
Goes up.
goes up,
Yeah.
and it goes up, up.
Bet it
Most
does.
people can't afford that.
No.
You know, that's where.
So,
Yeah. Sorry. Bob.
Patty, first of all, congratulations on your new book. It's Heal with Your Pets, correct?
Yes, it is. It's going to be coming out shortly. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I know that you don't want to share too many chapters of the book, but can you give our listeners just kind of an overview of when they purchase it, what to expect?
Yes, I'd love to. So my goal is to help people to communicate with their pets and to provide them what they need. So because our animals don't live in time, they don't experience time like we do. They're complete empaths. They absorb, and that means absorb low entities, low vibration entities, along with all of our physical and emotional stuff. And they can't release it. They can't do self-care. So this is one of the big things I'm going to help people to learn is how to do maintenance, help clear their animals, keep them nice and grounded, balanced, and provide healing. And I'm going to do this through teaching them energetic communication, which is 3 tools. 1, image emotion sets, which we've talked a lot about, being able to actually communicate back and forth, like when all of a sudden you get a phone call from your friend, you were thinking about them, that's an image emotion set. We're going to do that with our pets. And then a harmonic energetic setup, which is a system that was downloaded from Spirit to me to help clear empathic energy and protect. And then high vibration healing tools, like using gemstones, working with chakras, sound, meditation, spirit animals, and high vibration guides. So you're going to learn how to use all of these things. And then I'm going to also talk about some of the wild animals, which I do if we have time. Have one story I'd like to share about the bees. However, the most important chapter is the chapter on helping people with the end of life process with their pets, whether it be entering into the aging process and considering palliative care and the decisions changing, transitioning, healing from the grief afterwards. And also, people that have lost their pets, they've not come home. These things are absolutely the most traumatic things I have had anybody go through, and to help somebody to come through to the other side of healing so that they can fill that huge hole they left with the kind of love that they experienced that created that hole. And that's what our pets want.
So for our listeners that don't have pets, is it fair to compare that to almost a hospice situation?
Oh, 100%. I work with hospice as well. Literally, I've done all this with people. And then over the past 10 years, animals are like, please, let us refer our humans to you. Because they're more comfortable with us. However, it is exactly the same thing as when you're going through this with your loved one. And helping people to be able to connect on that level. Because, boy, when you're starting to transition as a human, you are open to all that communication ability that you had when you were an infant.
Yes.
So, Patty, can pets communicate with us as to what's going on with their health?
Yep.
In other words, for example, my son and I just adopted 2 dogs, a brother and a sister. Very quickly, that his dog had a problem with plates in his joints lining up. The vet felt strongly that they'd have to put him down. He got a second opinion, got a test done, and it turns out it's not the plates, thank God. It's just a growth situation that can be adjusted through medication. Anyways, do pets have the ability to communicate that to us?
I think you answered that question. Because, yes, he already did. You got a second opinion. You knew that was wrong. You didn't know it in human words, verbal or hearing. You intuited it. And that's the language they speak. So when I teach people when I help them with the energetic communication and you learn the skills and you work with that, you're communicating with them. But then all of a sudden you start to realize that, wow, this image that I have in my head and the way that I'm feeling about it isn't mine. It's my pet's. And that's when it gets so exciting because, yes, they're communicating back. Is it an exact language like, human language? No. It isn't. So we get so stuck in the I want the message this way. Oh, I can't trust it if it's not exactly this and in this format. If I'm not hearing it with my ears, if I'm not seeing it with my eyes. And feeling it, that's not good enough. You know? And that's what our animals are here to teach us, that yes, it is. And that's really the basis of our communication. And they're here to help us with that. And they're here because they're giving messages. They come to us for either they're mirroring what we need to change and helping us learn the tools to help them, which help us, or they're teaching us what our spirit jobs are and what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to work with it. And those are all incredible messages to understand. And ultimately, they're here to teach us there is more beyond this physical world. So when they pass, that's why they're only here for a certain amount of time, most of them. And they pass and they want to continue our relationship. And now we trust them. So they bridge us to the other side where we then trust our loved ones that have passed when we see them. We trust that we are hearing that. We are getting messages. We do have protection from our angels, from our loved ones, from our guides, because of our animals.
Right.
So this
Heal with Your Pets would be a great book for people that really love their pets and want to learn more about communicating. Where can you buy your book?
Well, currently, I'm still looking to find the right publisher. So I'm hoping it's only going to be like another month or so to be able to get it uploaded and everything. However, what I have it on my website that people can just, it's youranimalhealer.com, and they can just put in the contact that they're interested in the book and they want to find out when, and I'll send them an update when I have it available and a link that they can purchase it.
No, I don't.
Can you just give us the website one more time?
Sure. youranimalhealer.com.
Right. And is there an email address that people can reach you at?
Yes.
What we've done with other guests, and Tom and I would offer you the same benefit. We have given out our email address and said, you want to contact Patty, for example, send out an email to our email. We'll get a hold of Patty and then get your information. Or if you're comfortable, you can give out your email direct.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. It's youranimalhealer@gmail.com.
Okay, great. And we'll do that again before we end the segment. Just a quick question, and I know the book addresses this. Is there a difference between communicating with your live pet versus a pet that has passed?
That's such a great question. And yes and no. It's funny because animals talk in that afterlife energy. So that's why I don't actually see pets in person. I do online sessions with people because I don't want my physical presence to get in the way of our communication, because that's not how we're communicating. We're communicating energetically. So sometimes I don't really even realize if they've passed or if they're present, if they're female or male. I mean, these are things they don't really care about because it's not like it's human concepts, right? So, however, the big difference is pets that are living have different messages for their owners. They're here to teach us. They're here to help us learn how to live a better life. When they pass, their messages are about forgiveness. Their messages are about healing. Their messages are about connecting on the spiritual realm. So that's the big difference between working with a pet that's here and one that's passed. That's physical versus not physical. Yeah.
That's interesting. And my son's example that I gave you, the two dogs that we adopted are both 15 weeks old. So they're just really babies. And I asked him why he got the second opinion. I said, is it because you didn't trust your vet? And he said, it's funny, Dad, it wasn't that I didn't trust the vet. I just had a gut feeling we should get a second opinion.
Yep. Excellent.
And I think, in retrospect, that ties into what you've been telling us here today, that dog, even at 15 weeks old, had to somehow communicate that don't think about putting me down because this isn't what they think it is.
Exactly. And not only that, but that's a message about your son's job, spirit job. He is is meant to embrace his intuitive abilities, and he's got a connection with animals. So, he is there's a lot of messages there to explore, and that this dog is going to be a teacher, a mentor for him.
Right.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Congratulations, by the way. That's really wonderful. And thanks for rescuing.
Well, thank you. Yeah. We it's been a challenge for sure. But these two dogs are they're Pyrenees and Shepherd mix.
Wow.
So so they're going to get to about 100 pounds.
That's big.
I have the female, and she is just. I lost my wife not too long ago. Of 50 years we were married, and she has been a godsend to me, along with my children and my family, obviously. But the dog has brought a little bit of peace to me that I never thought I could have, frankly. And because of my age, I'm a little older, so I live alone. She and I just spend so much time together that I can just see a bond that I never had with any other dog I own, because I think I shared too much of my time with my children, my wife, my work, and so forth and so on. But I can just feel this connection with this dog, and I felt it from the day I picked her up.
Yeah, you know what? I think that this is an important time to share this concept. Animals are channels. So your girl is channeling your wife.
Yeah, that's interesting, Patty, because I think that's so.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I do. It's not many people would understand it, unfortunately, unless you went through it yourself. But and I'm sure that this podcast has been such an education. It's just, I hope that people that listen to this get your message, because you really are an angel bringing a message out there. And as I said to you before, that's what these podcasts are about. They're about educating people to things they never knew before and opening up their minds. I say to people all the time when we do investigations, you don't have to believe in ghosts, and I'm not here to change the way you think. I'm here to get you to open your mind and look at it.
Right. Just get
curious. If you
curious.
read this presentation and you say, I still don't believe in ghosts, that's okay. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Tom has experienced the same thing. We get so many people that come up and say to me, I came to this presentation because of my spouse. I really didn't want to come, but I'm leaving here with a whole different feeling.
Oh, that's beautiful. What a
Yes,
gift.
that happens all the time.
That's a gift.
All the time, yeah. And I know that this podcast, Patty, is going to change a lot of people's perception of animals and pets.
Oh, I hope so. That'd be wonderful.
I do, and I thank you so much for that, sharing that gift with us. It's been, I think it's a beautiful message that you have.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Could I share one story, the bees?
Of course you can.
This is important with the electromagnetic fields, okay? So I connect with wild animals. This is a big spirit job for me, is to connect and help the animals of the world. And so one of the times that I got together, and I recorded this meditation too, and it's available to, and anybody that wants it, just let me know. I'll send it to you free. And the bees, I went and I talked to the bees, and they said, come with me. And they said, I have a problem. And I'm flying with them in the meditation, and there's all these little fuzz balls are hitting me, and I'm like, what the heck are these things, right? And first they showed me flowers, and they're like, these are the flowers that we pollinate. And I could see the brilliant colors, and they were like so cool, the way that they shimmered, different than like with my normal eyes. They were like the electromagnetic energy of it. And so we flew and we kept flying, and as I was flying with them, these fuzzballs were covering my eyes, and the flowers were turning different colors. And I'm like, and then finally I'm like, it was like black and white, and I'm like, I can't even see the flowers to pollinate anymore. And they're like, this is our problem. And I'm like, well, why? What is this? What are these fuzzballs? And they brought me. They said, we'll show you where it comes from. And they brought me to the those high vibration phone lines, what are they called? I always, where the towers, the and so where all the electromagnetic emits, right? And they're like, and I'm like, oh my God. And I could just see these fuzz balls flying off of that, and feel the vibration of them. And then they took me to the phone towers. And I'm like, ah. And so this is what was going on. And I'm like, wow, that's so interesting. And so, I did a clearing and a healing, and I've been doing clearing and healing. And anybody that wants to help, please listen to this meditation and help them. However, on the other side, afterwards, I started to get some downloads and some information about what needed to happen, and that was grounding. The bees need to be grounded, because what happens is they carry these fuzz balls into the hives, and then their babies and everything, and the queens die, and that's why the hives are dying. One of the reasons. I mean, there's probably more, but that's the one. And so I thought, wow, I'm doing all this. I'm trying to learn all this technology, right? I'm at Microsoft, and the Microsoft guy says, geez, before we go in back, you've got to put your hand on this grounding rod to discharge your energy. And I'm like, the electromagnetic energy? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so great. I'm like, that's what we need for our bees. We need a way for them to discharge the electromagnetic energy before they go into the hive. I don't know how to do this, because then I think, okay, we'll put some kind of a rod there, whatever. But if the heat hits it, it gets hot, it'll burn their little feet. I don't know how to deal with this. However, I'm putting this problem out to people that know how to solve this. Please help the bees.
That's a great idea.
Wow.
Because we all live
Huh?
in a symbiotic relationship in this world.
We do. Let me tell you what the whales told me, but that'll be another story.
We'll have you back for the whale story.
That sounds great.
But yeah, we live in a world of symbiotic relationships.
We do.
And we got to keep remembering that and keep forward. And as we round down the show, Bob, I got one last thing I want to say to people at home. So Patty's putting this new book out. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You don't have to have an animal to buy it either.
Nope.
You can buy it for a loved one who has an animal. So this book is for everybody. That's a great Christmas present, birthday present, whatever present you need, anniversary present. So get on Patty's site and look at her book and look at what she has to offer, because this was a great episode. Bob, you have anything to say in closing before we close up?
I think that you buy that here with your pets if you're interested in anything around the paranormal.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that opens up a lot of other categories that we deal with in the spiritual world. Electronic magnetic energy, for example. That's what K2 meters are based on. So, to me, you got to get out and buy this book. Patty, just give us your website one more time so people can write it down.
Sure, it's youranimalhealer.com. And also, there's a whole chapter on wild animals. And so, if you've lost animals, if you've had bad experiences with animals, you're afraid of them, you want to help heal the wild animals, help make a difference in the ecology. All of these things are all covered in this book as well.
Wow, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Patty, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been a great show. I think the educational part of this will go a very long way in the future, so we thank you for your hard work.
Oh, thank you. I really enjoyed myself. Thanks so much. Thanks for what you guys are doing out there and spreading the word.
Thank you, Patty. I want to thank Patty for coming on. Bob, thank you very much for doing this with me every week. You got some closing words, and then we're going to close down the show.
Yeah. Well, I just would say to you, good luck with your pet. I hope that it doesn't end up losing him.
All right. Well,
but I think after listening to Patty, that you know that you'll always have a spiritual connection.
Oh, yes.
Regardless of the outcome. But we send prayers that it comes out positive for you.
All right. Thank you, Bob. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to this week, and we'll see you next week. Good day, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Patty.